what's the cause of the water scarcity? Generally, we hear three things: population growth, climate change, and I added inadequate decision making by the governments and decision makers in the past. And actually, climate change we knew, and population growth we knew. So actually there is only one cause, and that is inadequate decision making by the governments in the past. So the current administrators now face the great task of taking accelerated measures and make changes and find creative ways to accelerate it. I know I'm an expert member in both in the European Standardization Commission, I'm in the NSF task force group, and I'm also co-authoring the new Australian standard for water recycling systems. So I know it takes years to write the standard and years to change the standard. So that's the wrong route. The best thing to do is to accept other standards. And that's what happened in aviation. I'm also a commercial pilot, an FAA licensed commercial pilot. And they solved this problem years ago, because with an American registered airplane and an American license and an American certified airplane, you can fly to Mexico. And in Mexico, they accept the American certification and registration, and they accept the license. You can fly everywhere. And if you look to all the standards that are out there today, they're 99% the same. They're just minor differences. The air gap is not 25 millimeters, but 27 millimeters, and that blocks it. So if there would be more wisdom, and you would be open to have a look to already existing certified products in other countries that are also civilized and also have good regulations, but they're a little bit different. By accepting each other's regulation, you open the market for certified products from other countries. So, and that's why we formed the Global Expert Group, as Sabine already said, and we try to make a summary of what circular water sources can be used to help reduce the amount of tap water that has to brought. So there are hundreds of million homes out there worldwide. And if all these residents start to reduce their potable water and use circular water for non-potable way, that will greatly reduce the tap water consumption. And there are actually 5 solutions that are out there today and can be implemented. Of course, it's recycled grey water, rainwater, but we can also implement hygienic water and circular showers and vacuum toilets. So I will just go through them quickly. Every home has a water source. Every building has a water source. It's an upstream intervention. In every building, you reduce the amount of water that has to be treated and brought to that building. You reduce the wastewater emission, and you reduce energy and carbon emission. Peter Fisk explained it all. The standards are out there. NSF 350 is an excellent standard. Actually, when I started to design the Hydraloop, that was my goal. I just took the standard. I have to achieve that. And until I was sure that I would be certified, I tested it, and NSF was involved and assisted me. In Europe, we have EN 16941-2. It's accepted by 27 countries in Europe. It's an excellent standard for grey water recycling. And there are many products out there today that you can order, and they will be shipped, and you can install them. Griter, Intewa, Epic Cleantech, and Hydraloop. And there are more there. And of course, if this becomes an industry, other companies will step in and do the same thing. And that will bring the price down of water recycling systems. So the implementation is easier available for anyone. Rainwater is also, and Hans already explained it, a very perfect way to reduce tap water consumption. And there's a lot of practical experience with that. And of course, the size of the roof and the volume of the rainwater tank, and last but not least, the participation patterns are important factors. In Arizona, a rainwater system might have its difficulties. And also there in Europe is a fantastic standard for safe use of rainwater. Hygienic water. This is something that we are working on in Europe to produce a new standard for hygienic water, for circulation showers, bath and whirlpools, swimming pools. So hygienic water is not aimed for drinking, but it's safe and harmless for hygienic use. So circular showers or showering under treated rainwater, these are very good examples to connect to the circular water system. And just to show some of the circular showers, it is what it does, it takes the water from the drain, filters it, disinfects it, and you are partly showering using your own shower water. And the products are out there already for 10 years. In Europe, Upfall was one of the leaders. You can order it today, Orbital in Sweden, Flowloop in Denmark, and of course, 2 years ago, Rainstick introduced the circular shower in the US. What are the challenges? I just mentioned it before. It is the administrative and regulatory procedures to enable the installation so that the plumber feels safe to install it. The installation is not difficult. So this is where the work has to be done. And so many of the plumbing codes are outdated, and the person working behind the desk is of course doing his job well because the plumbing code is there. He has not the authority to go away from that code. So someone, and James, I hope you can talk about that. So the expert group is actually recommending governments the following items. Discourage and eventually ban the use of tap water for non-potable purposes. Encourage and eventually mandate the use of alternative circular water sources. Ensure livability of cities by deploying smart and safe alternative circular water sources also for the watering of gardens and the trend of green roofs and green walls. And prohibit the use of tap water for these applications. And urgently adjust the regulations and the building codes. And accelerate the implementation of existing standards for safe circular water. Safeguard public health and make circular water available at the lowest cost and lower cost than tap water. And this is an important subject. I already mentioned that I'm involved in several standards. And there's different opinions about what is regarded safe water. So there is also many times a political agenda by defining standards for recycled water. It is actually sometimes used to maintain monopoly positions by just setting very high standards. So I'm very sure that many of today's large plants to produce the recycled water is actually much more expensive than the tap water because they're too complicated and the standards are too high. In Europe, what we did in writing the standard, we had in Europe, of course, when we were writing the standard, there was a lot of discussion about the water quality we had to achieve. Everybody had an opinion. And then someone for the UK said, why don't we link it to swimming water quality? So for lakes and rivers, if we can swim in the water, then it's also safe to use for toilet flushing and for the washing machine. And that is the base for the European standard. That we just linked it to an already existing standard. And then of course encourage public and private collaboration along the stakeholders in the water sector.